Often you hear people who are defending very strongly Israel that, you say ceasefire. There was a ceasefire before October 7.
Israel, fuck yeah.
Let's face it, Germans, they make cars and house appliances. Japan too. The US, what do they build? Weapons. They build weapon systems. That's one of their main industries.
And Boeings, which are weapons
Yes.
of self-destruction. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Louis and George podcast.
I'm Louis.
And I'm George.
So, cheers my
man.
friend. Here's to our maybe the last podcast.
No, it's not the last one. This is going to be a very Brofessor podcast.
So it's going to be a heavy podcast today because we're going to talk a topic which is quite, let's say, it ignites passions. There's a lot of pain around this topic and a lot of opinions. Some are right, obviously mine, and everyone else is wrong, obviously. Let's see. We're talking Israel-Palestine conflict.
This is the equivalent of when we did the Rogan podcast because you were against it. So my general opinion about this shit is that everybody's talking about it. Nobody knows shit about it. So we have to do it too, right? I mean, we have no clue. So we should give an opinion.
Exactly. We have, let's say, a view about it. Could be right, could be wrong. And yeah, we can start maybe with a bit of historical background. How did we get here?
Yeah.
For that, I'm going to follow up with some notes that I took, mostly for the dates and the numbers, because I don't want to fuck those up. The concepts, I mean, plenty of people know them already. But I want to get those numbers precise, because we know how this goes. Then somebody on the internet goes, well, actually, it was not in 1968, it was in 1967. Yeah, who cares?
So everybody can do that. And if you have some legitimate critics, just put a link with your fucking sources so that the discussion, it's based on something, not like a lot of people just drop their comments like it's fine to be. Some of the people also that commented were super elaborated and they were super passionate, and I really like that. And if there are some people in this case that want to do the same, please try to be more based on something and not really just opinions.
So proper internet attitude. Yeah. But anyway, Israel-Palestine. We are in a small piece of land, smaller than Sicily, actually, in the eastern part of the Mediterranean. And there's been people killing each other, people beating the crap out of each other here since forever, pretty much. So this is not really that new. But we could say one of the major strong points was with my boy, Roman Emperor Hadrian.
Are you really going to dig in like the old stuff? It's like when you're having a fight with your girlfriend and you start like dissecting who's wrong, starting from 2 years ago.
Exactly. And you did this and you did that. But I think it's worth mentioning my boy Hadrian, because he was kind of a savage, but, you know, good for Rome, bad for the rest. So there was an uprising from the Jewish people in the area called Judea, where the Jewish were, what is now Israel, but back then was Judea. There's an uprising. They're trying to create a Roman city there, but the Jewish people there, the Hebrews, they're saying no fucking way. So there's an uprising, there's killings, there's a small revolution going on there. At some point, Hadrian gets fed up. He sends a couple of Roman legions and fucks them up.
Typical fag reaction. People don't know, but Hadrian kind of had a boy. He had to marry this woman who was the niece of Trajan, who was the emperor before him. Yeah. So he had to do it so he can get the throne.
For
but
political
he
reasons.
really loved the penis.
He loved the dudes. And then somebody said, nobody's going to kill me gay. And then he went all in. I mean, you got to respect the gays in antiquity, because Alexander the Great, big fag and amazing dude.
Back in the days, it was like we watched The Gladiator yesterday, and when the gladiator is unhappy, his owner tells him, "What do you want? A woman? A boy?"
Yeah, exactly. Super open. Now they were inclusive. So Hadrian goes in, throws in a couple of Roman legions. They went a little bit overboard. Wink, wink. We're going to follow a trend here. And they fuck everybody up. They killed thousands.
The Jews.
And he vanished the Jewish people from that area. Not entirely, because there were still Hebrews there, but he vanished a big chunk of them, and he changed the name of the country, of the land, into Siria, Palestina.
Okay. So this is where we get the first name of Palestine.
Exactly. Syria was already a region in that area.
But the Jewish people were hated even before, because they were the slaves that were building the pyramids. And then what was called the guy that helped them?
Moses.
Moses helped them escape through the Red Sea and brought them to the Holy Land.
That's in ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
I think that most of the chronology for that is the Bible. So let's say that's a maybe. But the Hebrew culture was there for thousands of years before. But before Hadrian, also another Roman emperor, Titus, he is the one who said there will be no stone left. And he also destroyed completely, like 50, 60 years before Hadrian. He totally wrecked Jerusalem. And he destroyed the Temple of Solomon. They took all the treasures. They built the Colosseum with that stuff. So yeah, the Romans were plundering there often. And when the Jews gave them a reason, like, are you misbehaving? I'm going to throw in a couple legions and let's see what's what. Yeah, poor guys. They were getting destroyed already there.
So then it started in the Roman Empire. And also, after that, the Roman Empire at some point became Christian, which is we are Christian today because of that.
Pretty much.
And then there was the start of Islam, and then everything, it's like this is the holy place for everybody.
Exactly.
And
Jerusalem is also the place of
each other.
Exactly. They have the dome on the rock, which is like a major religious point for the Muslims. So yeah, I don't know why everybody gives a shit about this place, but yeah, apparently for everybody that believes in God cares a lot.
Well, back in the days, it was a big deal. Like we were in Florence and in Rome lately. And if you think about it, everything in the past was based on religion. And the best parts of each European city are occupied by a fucking huge church. Like
cathedrals.
They take a huge amount of space, and in the best real estate area.
Exactly. And now that's where they charge you triple price for a coffee. And and people still go because these cathedrals are truly monuments to humanity, you have to admit. But,
so I think, I don't know, maybe back in the days, weather was an easy excuse to use to destroy stuff, to conquer things, or it was really people were into it.
I think religion is a great tool to manipulating people, but that's more me being here
but
a bit harsh on religion, because there's also benefits to it. I totally get it. But you can always manipulate, I think, somebody with religion easier than say it because I say so, or do it because in the afterlife God wants it. It's, I don't know, an interesting sleight of hand.
Maybe it was also a way to identify yourself. I mean, still it is a way to identify yourself. Like, I don't know, I guess that if you go to a country with another religion, you're slightly more skeptical because actually many of our daily traditions or daily life, it's based on these religious understandings of life.
I think so too. People carry it. But we're diverting. Let's get back to where we are. So I'm going to jump a lot in time because we started in the Roman Emperor.
Okay, there's
a spread of Jewish people all around the world and in Europe. And I'm going to jump all the way to the Second World War now.
Yeah, there were many in Eastern Europe, Russia.
Yeah,
nobody loved them.
In Russia, I think there was more Jew hate than even maybe Germany, which is a lot to say. At some point, no, obviously, when Mr. H came to power, then no, the Germans out-hated the Russians when it comes to the Jews.
The Russians were a little bit disorganized. Let's say they had these pogroms where they would go fuck up a village of Jews, while Germans were like, we're gonna organize and we're gonna do it very well.
If it's worth doing it, it's worth doing it right.
Oh my God, okay. We know that in the Second World War, Hitler used this excuse to say that everything's on the Jews, kill them all.
The Holocaust happens. And what happens here is that there's also a huge feeling of guilt from the international community that they could have probably stopped Hitler before enacting the Holocaust, but they didn't. So we're going to start with this sensation of guilt from the international community. Now, what happens during the Second World War and also a bit before, like in the late 30s and mid-40s, late 40s, there's a lot of immigration from Jewish people into the area of what is now Israel. And like anywhere in the world, when there's a lot of immigration, somewhere this creates tension. So then the Second World War happens. There's this whole massacre, the Holocaust, the horrible crimes that the Jewish people had to suffer. And then we still have a lot of influx of people going into Israel. This creates a lot of tension because this area is controlled by the British. And they're trying to keep people under control. But you have the Arabs, you have the Jewish, you have the British trying to keep it together. And the British are getting fucked from every side. The Arabs are revolting. The Jewish people, they have also these different militias. And they bombed the British consulate in Israel. Not Israel, but then, Judea, whatever. They bombed it as a protest. They killed I don't know how many. At some point, the Jewish, they also kidnapped 2 British soldiers. They asked for some ridiculous... I think they asked for the freeing of some Jewish revolutionaries. The British didn't free them, so the Jews hanged these British officers. So there's all this tension. But meanwhile, World War II has happened, so there's also this guilt going on. At some point, at the end of the Second World War, the UN happens. It's created as a measure to avoid crimes against humanity. The UN, they understand we went too harsh on everybody. It's true the Nazis were the evil here, and they totally got it coming. But it's true the Allies did some crimes. Why don't we establish a body to avoid crimes from anybody? Obviously not the Nazis, which were the bigger perpetrators, but also not any kind of war crime just because we're trying to stop the bad guys. The UN happens, and in 1948, the UN decides to create the state, not create, it was already there, but to help, and there's a vote to create the State of Israel. The Brits are finally saying, okay, we're creating this state, we're staying a couple of years, and then we're going to leave and leave it up to you guys. We're going to stay for a little while still there to keep security for everybody, but then we're all leaving. There's a sort of vote about creating the Israeli state. This is 1948. And the Arabs vote no, and the Jews vote yes, and the UN, which has the actual power, they say yes. So we know how this goes.
I know there were talks also to put the Israel state in South America because they were looking for space. Yeah, they were looking for space to put them somewhere, and I think the Brits also didn't want to take care anymore of this outpost. That was, that post World War II era was when the empire was still an empire, but it was slowly sizing down to the island of England, basically. I want to do a spin-off a little bit of why people, because there are many conspiracy theories about the Jewish people, because throughout history they were always hated, starting from ancient Egypt till World War II, till the recent events. We can discuss later about the current discussion about, again, that there is sort of... how do you call it? Discrimination, proactive discrimination against the Jewish people. So I was into it because I thought, okay, Hitler was the worst, but was not the first. So why do people hate so much Jewish people? And when I read into it, I was like, oh my God, this is a perfect shit show, because it's like the perfect conspiracy theory. The religion, the becoming a Jew, it's a very close religion. And they don't promote it like the other religions. Like Muslims and Christians, they try to
bring people in.
Bring people in. The Jews is like, whatever. You can become really Jewish only if your mother is a Jew, a Jewish woman. And then if you later in your life you want to convert, you have to, cut stuff and things. It's like not so cool. And they have this closed community. And another thing that they differ very much from Christians, it's that we Christians believe in, the last will be the first, show the other cheek, this very good spirited, or I don't know, religion where it's also a virtue to be poor, things like that. Machiavelli was super against this kind of religion. He was saying that Christianity is the fucking worst religion we could ever pick. While in the Jewish religion, there is no this morale, and the morale that actually it's if you're poor, that's a bad thing. So they very much focus on teaching their successors into how to make money, how to make
self-improvement.
It's not self-improvement. Is that being unsuccessful is not a virtue. So you have to work on being successful, and that's make them very wise actually, because they make their kids study. They push a lot on education. They push a lot on really. They say teach your kids how to fish. Don't give them fish, or teach them how to make bread. Don't give them the bread. This combined with the closed religion made them very hated by every other community. And despite all the attacks, the attempts to destroy them from every kind of civilization, the Egyptians, the Romans,
the Spanish,
but the Russians, the Nazis, all these people tried to destroy, to wipe them out, made the region even closer, but made them also super risk. They can take easily risk, they don't give a shit, because they're like, well, what's going to happen? We're going to get killed. Like, this has happened before. They make them very united because they help each other a lot. And this made them even more, successful, because like they go and do, I don't know, we do banking, we do finance, we're going to study
science.
When they study, what is the most profitable things to study. So this is why, I don't know exact statistics, but I think per capita Jewish people are more successful than any other religion.
I think this is the kind of situation where, sometimes you're in a wedding and there's a group of guys who really don't mix with anybody else, but they're having a lot of fun over there. And they don't let you mix in, and they don't mix in. And people start saying, oh, fuck those guys. I don't know. It's almost a human reaction.
Yeah.
Which they let you mix in. It's not like you can never join the Jewish people, but it has to be on their terms.
Yeah, but it's a little weird. Like I had a Jewish friend, let's say, I don't know. Very weird. Like on Saturday they do their thing with their community, and some of them they're not even religious, but they're very connected with their community. So yeah, I personally I don't feel anti-Semitic. I don't believe in but there are people who will have these feelings. I actually admire a little bit their attitudes. I come from a country where we never deported them. I'm from Bulgaria. We saved when we were allied with the Germans. The Germans want to deport our Jewish people. The parliament said, fuck off, they're Bulgarian citizens, so you're not doing shit. And then we tried to save as much as possible from the occupied territories, which were crossing Bulgaria towards the camps. But this is basically the background why there is so many anti-Semitism throughout history.
I have to say, mad respect for the Jews when it comes to the sciences. I think 1/3 of every Nobel Peace Prize, every Nobel Prize in science, it's a Jewish person. Amazing.
Also the main advancement in physics, also to create the nuke.
Exactly.
The nuke, it's pretty Jewish, let's say.
My boy Albert. No, Albert is the theoretical background, but not the bomb itself.
But also Oppenheimer also was a Jew.
A big heap, But anyway, we were in the historical stuff.
So we said the UN
creates the State of Israel, late 1940s.
Israel, like, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. And in 1948...
Israel, fuck yeah.
In 1948, though, the Arabs say, okay, the UN may say whatever the fuck they want to say, but you guys are surrounded by Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and we are more than you, and we're going to fuck you up. So in 1948, the Arabs attack.
This is how many years after 1 year, I think.
Yeah, 1 year or so. Very, very little time.
Yeah.
The moment a couple of security officers from the UN left, they go all in. And Egypt goes from the south, takes the Gaza area, and controls that. Jordan attacks from the east, takes the West Bank. Syria attacks from the north. There's heavy battles. There's a lot of fighting, but the Jewish survive. They managed to keep a sort of stable border where they have the Egyptians controlling the southern area, They're their own area, Gaza, but it's sort of controlled by Egypt. The West Bank is controlled by Jordan. And they reach a sort of peace agreement with some stability. Not really stability, because all this time for the next decade, there's going to be tensions all the time. For example, Egypt, they close the Suez Canal for any kind of Jewish shipping. So they're fucking their economy. There's like the Suez Canal crisis. Then there's like attacks one to each other. There's a lot of tension in the next years until, let me get to the year, right? Okay, there's even a bigger migration. But what happens? Bigger
migration of Jewish people.
Jewish people into the area. So there's even more and more. And they're trying to build up what is a state of Israel from this area, which is flanked by the West Bank, from Jordan, by Gaza, from Egypt. Then comes 1968, is it? 1967. This is called the Six-Day War. So the Six-Day War is when the Jews start to show that they can also kick some ass. What happens is they launch a preemptive strike, meaning they attack before being attacked. I need to defend them on this one because they had enough intelligence and enough knowledge to know that Egypt was building up the troops, Jordan was building up troops, Syria as well. So they are thinking, they're about to hit us in any moment now. Let's hit them before they hit us, and then we cripple them, and they can no longer hit us properly. So they send almost all their fighters, I think Mirage and Phantoms and this kind of airplanes. They fuck them up. Then Egypt and Jordan, they all attack, but they're already crippled because that first strike from Israel really did the job. And because they pretty much win, Israel expands. They take the West Bank, they take Gaza, and they take the whole Sinai Peninsula. It's this triangle form peninsula between Egypt and what is now Israel. So they just take it. And fuck you guys. We're going to have a buffer zone between our main cities and you, and we're going to take control of this. And it stays like this for a couple decades until, okay, not so many decades, but a couple. A big event I want to get the year right, that's why I'm looking here. 1973 is the Yom Kippur War, where this time Egypt does a surprise attack. Yom Kippur was a vacation, like a holiday in Israel. So the Egyptians say, oh, this is our chance. Let's go fuck them up. They tried to do it, but they really didn't manage to win. So in the end, Israel also kicks them back. And they decide to sit on the negotiating table with Egypt. Let's stop fucking each other up. And they do the Camp David Accord. This is with President Carter in the US. And Sadat from Egypt. I don't remember the Jewish guy. So they sit down. They decide to reach a peace. Like, we don't like each other, but let's keep it together. And Israel starts to give back some land. They give back the Sinai Peninsula. Weirdly, I feel bad because Sadat, the president of Egypt who did this peace, he gets killed a few years later on an attack from some jihadist prick. And poor guy fucking dies. But what are you going to do? Things are then sort of stable for a while until 92 with the Oslo Accords. This is a big... So from 1992 to the 2000s, it seems like things are going to be fixed, not like now. 1992 with the Oslo Accords, this is when the Jewish and the Palestinians sit down, and the Jews decide to give back a lot of land. They give back the West Bank, not all of it, but parts of it. They create this sort of latest border with Gaza, Israel, and the West Bank, this chunk it's in the east. I don't know why they call it West Bank, but whatever. That's the deal. They give it back with certain, we need some checkpoints, control measurements, military control. So they don't here, this is your own country. But they also allow what is called a PA, the Palestinian Authority, so that they can, inside this land, you can govern yourself. You are your own country. Not really your own country, but you can govern yourself inside this chunk of land. But we control the border and we control what's going on militarily. You want to say something?
The West Bank is because it's the West Bank of the river, although it's in the east of the country. Mm-hmm. Because the river, it's after the river, there are the other countries.
The Jordan, yeah. So things are going slowly well. Then happens one thing that's kind of a step back. In 2000, let me get the year. Yeah, it's 2000, the Camp David Summit. Here, Arafat is this guy from the Palestinian revolutionary group, the guys who look ugly as hell. Yasser Arafat, he looks super ugly. He has the scarf thing. I think the
it
guy
was okay, man.
No, the guy was looking for the best for the Palestinians, obviously, but I thought he had kind of a funny face. I don't know.
I think he was a typical Palestinian. Like, if
I hope not.
Why not?
Yeah, he was the typical Palestinian woman. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay, guys, like,
We're cancelled.
no, kill. If you're a Jew, if like a jihadi fighter, you're saying this shit.
Now, the Camp David summit is a disaster, sadly, because the president of Israel, guy Barak, not Obama, it's just a guy called Barak. Obama. They tried to reach a deal, but they come out of the summit with no deal. I think looking back, probably Arafat had his reasons, but he probably should have taken the deal because it's better that one they might get at this point. So it's a bit of a pity. And from this day on in 2000, I think it's when things start to go down because they leave the summit with no deal, but thinking they might get another deal after. But the next year in Israel, the right-wing party wins with Ariel Sharon, I think is his name. Mm-hmm. And the right-wingers in Israel, they are like, fuck these guys, we're security people, what we want is the security of Israel, and these guys, we don't care what they do, but number one is security of Israel, these guys, no deal from now on. And in my opinion, this is where things start to go down, because they had a moment in 2000 where they could have reached a longer lasting peace, but they didn't reach it. Then the right wing starts, and then tensions start. And during these tensions, there's a lot of like, when I say tensions, means like they're also like throwing some rockets from Palestine into Israel. Israel usually answers with a couple of fighter jets bombing the crap out of some people, killing a couple hundred or something. Then another important moment is 2007, because this is when there's an election inside of Gaza, and Hamas wins the election.
But all the Western countries says this is a legit party.
It is a party, and they chose them. And this,
but also they were like fine with them. Like from what I know, America also was like, they're fine, they're good, political party.
Yeah. The problem is that and this party, they were already saying shit like fuck Israel, fuck the Jews, we want nothing to do with them, we want to actually kill them. So this creates more and more tension. From 2007, Hamas is in power there, and Israel freaks out. And one of the first things they do is they build this gigantic wall around Gaza, and they also generate a blockade also by sea. Mm. So no trucks or no commerce or no trade can go in and out without Israel giving the okay. They cannot have an airport either. They cannot have a proper port where they can get trade in and out. This blockading from 2007 until pretty much now, I think, even though I cannot get it, it's probably a mistake, because when you blockade an area like that, then there's no job opportunity, there's no possibility of growth, there's just people closed in. This creates like a lot of pissed off people and a lot of pissed off guys, especially when you have like 50% of the population that has no job, and they cannot really have a job because they cannot do much there because they are blockaded after all. So in my opinion, this is like having a wound and closing it and let it fester. Yes. And the wound festered a lot.
But on the other side, we think, they will do trade, they will do things like...
They can't.
Yes, we think eventually if they didn't have the blockade, they would do that. Yeah. But then the reality is that most of the times when there was no blockade, it was like Iran or some other country delivering a shit ton of weapons to them, and then they shoot them to Israel. And it's a really freaky situation, because this is why I say we don't know shit, because despite sounding so black and white, for a very long time, these two cultures and populations, also till today, they were mixing a lot together. They were living. There are a lot of Palestinians that live and work in Israel, and Israel, meanwhile, was sending a lot of humanitarian aid throughout the years to give. They give them water, they give them electricity, they give them... Mm-hmm. Yes, I know that probably to the people who are pro-Palestina thinks, this is, of course, you give electricity and water to a prison too, right? but it's a very tricky situation. Well, through this historical journey, we can say that the British people are the one that basically created the shit storm, because when you in a way, not organic way, you create a state. Like you put some people there, and there's also, I don't know, the way they're separated politically, it's not like really well defined, because you cannot have Palestina that it's a country split in two and they're one country, and then in the middle.
I don't get it. That, like, how is it that Israel's in the middle between two chunks of Palestina? It's almost designed for it to not work. Honestly, it feels like it. And all this time, I'm almost done with our historical journey. All this time, there's several moves that are also kind of shitty from the part of Israel, because we said Gaza and then the West Bank. So you will hear often about the term settlements in the West Bank. This is chunks of land that Israel step by step is taking. I think they do it kind of smartly. Like, it's not like the government comes in with tanks and takes a chunk of land. I think somebody goes there and builds a whole set of condos in an area, and then they sell it, probably to maybe some Jew from the US, or not necessarily, but from somewhere. So slowly in the West Bank, they've been creating these settlements and taking bits of land. The UN says that this is illegal and that they shouldn't do that. But Israel was more like, kiss my ass with this kind of thing. So the settlement element was creating a lot of tensions. A lot of things one thing, I will kill one shit argument from right now. Often you hear people who are defending very strongly Israel that, you say ceasefire. There was a ceasefire before October 7. No, there wasn't a ceasefire. Like, since 2008, they've been throwing bombs at each other almost yearly. Almost every year, the Hamas assholes would throw a couple of missiles. They would almost all be blocked and do nothing. And then Israel would answer with some bombing, killed a couple hundred people, maybe 1,000 sometimes. So it's not like there was a ceasefire and they broke it. No, there was shit flying around back and forth. There was less. True, there was less action, but there was action before that.
Yes, but for example, the argument that the Hamas missiles were blocked, it's not really an argument, because also the settlements, yes, they're most likely legal. Again, here, I'm a professor talking. I don't know much. This is how I imagine it. I'm a big professor, expert in international relationship talking. But like, let's say after the first squabbles, if we could call them squabbles, there were also a lot of terror attacks. Mm-hmm. Like terror attacks, they go classic bomb, suicide, whatever. Bomb, yeah. And Israel reaction is, okay, you're going to do that shit. We're going to take another piece of your land. They do this, then they send more terrorists, then Israel takes another piece. Mm-hmm. Also, I got to say that Israel can be seen as a very hurt lady that had very bad relationship with her past boyfriends. So finally, they were giving a state, and they were like, okay, bro, from now on, we put all our resources into defending the state, no matter what. And they're super forefront in technology, like the Iron Dome. Mm-hmm. They have the Pegasus software, that shitty software that can enter any device, read everything without you knowing any shit. This is all Israel stuff. Mm-hmm. And they have satellites, they have all these things. And you cannot go and slap in the fucking face the biggest, bulkiest dude in the bar and then expect the guy not to slap back. He's gonna fuck you up. So on this point of view, yes, I see how this is very gray zone-ish. And I understand also why Israel is kind of overreacting because of their past, because everybody's been trying to kill them.
So this is the lady with a black eye. She says, nobody's going to ever put a finger on me. And now anybody that says anything, she'll fucking smack him.
But on the other side also, I don't understand. I think a lot of the Arabic states are keeping also this situation because they want to have an excuse to have tensions with them. Because, I mean... we talked about this before also, that Egypt is blocking the border. The other countries are blocking the border by saying this is going to be a complete this is an excuse from Israel to push the people out of there so that they can take over. I say, okay, I agree with you, but at least let women and children pass through. Come on, like women and children. We did the same with Ukraine. They don't let men out because they need to fucking fight the war, but women and children, million women and children, a million people, population moved from Ukraine to Poland.
But Egypt can very well say, or you could stop bombing the crap out of them, because it does look like a move from Israel. Let's push these people to the south. Let's create as much pressure and chaos as possible. And then the Egyptians close the border because Egypt is a poor country. They cannot take in suddenly 1 million refugees. And they're like, this is your problem. This is your thing. You're the one doing this to them. And you want me to pick them up? It's like, no, if Egypt opens the border and lets the refugees in, it would be good for the refugees.
Women and children.
But it would be the best thing they could do for Israel. Because then they really clear the problem.
No, they don't clear shit. Because Israel on the other side, when they say this, they can say, well, bro, they're full of terrorists. What we gonna do? So Egypt doesn't propose any contribution. They don't say, okay, let's, I don't know, both. They can do the same shit they did with Nazi Germany. They can say, okay, let's occupy everybody, military this country. We clean up all the terrorists. We stay there for 50 years, create a democracy or create whatever system works, and we do it. But they don't do anything. They just do like, we put this big wall in between Egypt and Gaza. We put a lot of Marines or whatever soldiers they have, and they don't let anybody go through. They do the same thing on the opposite side, on the West Bank with Lebanon, Jordan, whatever. And what they're doing is there's this mob.
In the West Bank, there's not so much.
No. But Hamas, it's a mob. It works exactly as any other mob, and they get delivers from Iran or whoever is sponsoring the heads of the mob. They're not really even residing in Gaza. They're in Qatar and they're fucking somewhere else. And they use the civil population as a shield.
True. I believe it. But it's deeper than that. First of all, Egypt, I get it that they don't open the border because it really is the best favor they could ever do to Israel for a problem that they are making worse by killing.
But then one day protesting, they're protesting that they're killing everybody.
Yeah, they're protesting. You guys are killing everybody. You guys are breaking every international law doing this, bombing the crap out of people, killing children and women and children. You guys are doing this. Also, I wanted to finish the historical, but before we do that, let's start with the concept of eliminating Hamas. That's a weird concept because it's, the US used to have this concept, the war on terror, which was a bullshit concept to keep war everywhere.
This is the same bullshit.
And this is a similar thing because Hamas is not an army of dudes there that you can kill them and that's it. It's not like that. This looks like a very... And the people who say this, I don't think they're stupid. I think they know what they're talking about. So you don't eliminate Hamas like, oh, let's bomb Hamas. Not to mention, everybody has said this already, but every time you're killing a mother and a child, that the brother of that child, new Hamas fighter. That's pretty much what you're doing.
Especially when you don't have any alternatives.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you don't have any alternatives. And that's why I'm saying that this situation is completely fucked up. I completely agree that saying we're going to eliminate from Hamas by bombing the shit out of Gaza, it's really not how it works. Because you cannot surgically destroy only Hamas. Hamas fighters have these tunnels and stuff. You have to go in the urban zone, foot on the ground. Then it's a whole intelligence work. You have to kill the heads. You have to...
And they're killing so many innocents that they're creating a lot of Hamas fighters, I think so.
I don't know at this point, after all this shit that this has been going so many decades or centuries or whatever. I mean, let's say decades because this is the latest phase.
You mentioned decades. Let me finish the historical.
Go ahead. But I want to say that I don't know who is Hamas anymore and who is not Hamas because it's all mixed up.
Nobody. I think nobody does. So we were in 2007, Hamas, Israel creates the blockade, and then tensions start to arise harsh. The last point of history is an attempt from the Trump administration to bring some stability to the Middle East called the Abraham Accords. So the Abraham Accords are an interesting strategy. It didn't work out from what we can see. But the Abraham Accords were trying to normalize relationships between the Arab Emirati states and also the Saudi Arabia states and all the Arabic states. So all the big players, the Abraham Accords, it's trying to connect them to Israel and make peace with Israel. The concept from the Abraham Accords is through strength, they can fix the problem, because if the Gazans, Palestinians, whatever, if they understand that they're completely alone, that all the Arabic states have joined the Israelis and they are now in peace and trading and doing commerce and everything, then because they have no options, they will do anything for searching for peace. So they do the Abraham Accords. They completely left out the Palestinians and the Palestinian Authority and all of them. And they focus on doing an agreement between the main Arabic states, Emiratis, Saudis, and Israel. On principle, the concept seems interesting, but what happened is October 7 happens after. It feels almost like the Hamas can't say, oh, you're going to leave us out? Okay, you're going to leave us out. We're going to do some brutal shit thing and kill innocents, and then we're going to create such chaos that we're going to fuck up then your accords, the Abraham Accords, because it's going to be unsustainable then. Which, yeah, the guys who planned the October 7th, they should hang. I'm there. I just don't think the right way to do it is let's kill everybody. Let's kill women, children, everybody. Let's just bomb the shit out of everybody. So we are now where we are. We're done with the historical path. With total humanitarian crisis, with millions of people in the... Millions, okay, 1 million.
I think October 7, we have to expand on it.
Yeah.
Because this was a brutal shit.
Yeah.
This was like people flying into Israel with whatever,
kites,
jumping with parachutes,
shooting everybody.
Imagine you're on a concert. There was this concert in the desert. There were these people flying down the sky, armed to the bones, completely full of weapons, and fucking up everybody possible that comes in their way. Yeah. If possible, with the most brutal methods. By raping children, beheading babies.
That's a myth, the baby thing. It doesn't matter, but it's a myth.
But, I mean, I don't know if it's a myth.
I think it's a myth. And by the way, it's a silly myth.
I think it's a confirmed thing.
The truth is horrible enough.
Yes.
And I don't need the beheaded babies to hate those guys. Because they were already horrible. And I don't understand why they do this baby thing. But I think it's almost for sure a myth. It doesn't matter if it's a myth. Yeah. They did it. They went there. They killed a lot of people.
Took hostages.
Yeah, hundreds.
They were fucking driving around with that German girl's body. One of the girls that they killed was like a German Jew, I guess, that went to this concert, this sort of festival.
Tattoo artist, I think.
Yeah, she was full of tattoos. Anyway, they were driving around, these savages around her with the Toyota, always like the official sponsor of every jihadi war.
You gotta choose reliability. Yeah.
And but then but then there is a video how they were like happy, and then at some point there you see a missile exactly on those same savages, and they blow them.
Good.
Yes. So that's good. But a lot of the people who are now like protesting against the war, against the approach of Israel, in my opinion, they're starting to cross from the side where I say, okay, you guys, you were right, to the side where I say, okay, guys, you're nuts.
Yeah, but I understand that the protesters, I think they're right. I think in every protest, there's always some stupid idiot who says something dumb, like, oh, kill all the Jews, or all the Jews are criminals, or some nonsense like that. There's always an idiot saying something like that. But the main focus of the protest is, can you stop killing women and children? That's the focus. That's the message.
Yes.
And everything else, I think it's noise. This whole... There was this guy, and the guy was kind of a cunt, because he went into the protest, and he was saying, oh, you guys were all the time complaining about cultural appropriation, but now you all have the Palestinian scarf, and you're a white girl. You shouldn't be wearing the Palestinian scarf. That's cultural appropriation. That's shameful on you, shameful. The guy is obviously provoking a reaction. Yes. And there's a lot of these pricks provoking
Yes,
stuff.
but there are also the people in the campuses that were chanting and were saying from the river to the sea, which means wipe away Israel. They were blocking the entrance of Jewish students, of Jewish professors. The police had to tell them not to enter the campus, because any campus, but this was particular Columbia, but it happened in many other campuses in the States. And some, it's sort of a cliche, 99% of these protesters were some super woke people with the pink hair. The most outrageous one was trans people for Palestine. I'm like, bro, okay, I agree that they shouldn't be killing the women and the children, but they will stone the fucking gay people themselves.
But we lose the message with the nonsense. The whole queers for Palestine, trans for Iran. Yes, a trans in Iran would be burned alive.
Yes.
But this is noise. I mean, the message is the message. And the news focuses a lot on these idiots that say queers for Palestine.
But they're the majority there, I feel.
I don't think so.
And I think
they're the people that get the camera on them.
I don't know.
I doubt it.
I don't know, but there are so many still. And I think that this is the way that I think, okay, guys, I don't feel you're protesting against something that you care about. I think you're using this other topic to polarize it in one way or the other.
I don't agree.
Because this has nothing to do with queer. It has nothing to do with trans for whatever. Mm-hmm. This has nothing to do with this. This is a completely different shit show, completely different cultural problem.
But that's unnecessary noise, dude. I mean, if you have 300 in the protest and 10 dudes have the trans for Iran thing, then the cameras look at them and they forget about the others. There's several news sources which are a bit more independent, not your classical Fox News, CNN, that they're trying to give a more abstract whole picture. And they all say that, yeah, that's happening, but it's the lesser argument. And if you compare it, for example, to the protest, I know this was a long time ago, in the Vietnam War, universities were also up in arms with protests against the Vietnam War, which, fair enough, it was a stupid, silly war, unnecessary in any way. Those guys were way more violent. They had way more reason, probably.
You mean the Vietnam guys?
Yeah.
Yes, but wait a second.
This is a similar thing. This is students protesting for peace.
Yes and no. Like the other one, it was like they're sending you to fucking Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And then you gotta protest because you're like, fuck off, I'm not gonna go fight your stupid war. This time it's a little easier to be protester because it's not really regarding you.
Yes, it is. In a way, indirectly. Because the US is supplying the weapons, the funding, the money, the political support. They are not sending troops. That's true. But without the support of the US, this does not happen. Which is why they're doing this. Because they think, probably wrongly, but they think that if they pressure, especially the Biden administration, they might at least withdraw some support or do something. That's their aim, to push the Biden administration into, not to stop it, but at least withdraw the support, and this will pressure the Israelis into stopping. I think that's their plan. And to me, the queers for Palestine and trans for Iran, which it is hilarious, I have to admit, but it's noise.
But this thing is not going to happen. There is speeches of Biden back in the 80s, 70s, even maybe when he was just a senator, where he was giving these speeches where he was saying that they have to always support Israel because if they don't have Israel as their sort of fortress in the Middle East, they have to send thousands of millions of people to, stabilize the area and stuff like this.
It sounds like bullshit. But okay.
I don't know, man. I accept the protest of the students. I don't accept their methods. I don't accept the fact that why they don't stop the Russian students, why they stop only the Jewish students. They could do the same shit to the Russian students. We live in a city where there are many Russians, more and more Russians here in Frankfurt. I was in Florence, full of fucking Russians everywhere. I don't know how they're coming, but they're coming. Nobody on the streets goes to them and screams in their face and tells them to fuck off. So I have the feeling that this extreme left, let's start with one thing. Extreme left, extreme right are both stupid. I don't base my opinions on Fox News or on any other bullshit far-right media because we can see that they're also propaganda machines. There was this problem with the Daily Wire, where there was what is she called? Candace Owens.
Shapiro.
Candace Owens. She was fired because she was anti-Semitic. I don't agree that saying Israel is doing something shitty, it's anti-Semitic. I also don't agree, let's chant Hamas, it's super cool. Like
you just threw a big bomb there. You said she was anti-Semitic. Was she anti-Semitic or was she critical of Israel? Because I am being critical of Israel today, and I don't think it's right what they're doing, but I am in no way anti-Semitic. It's not. You can be critical of the government of Israel, but not anti-Semitic.
I think by having listened some statements of Candace Owens in the past, I've understood that we're never going to be popular because we don't have the right IQ for that. But she has this, I don't know, like in Italy we say, we don't know if she's doing it or she's being it. So we don't know. But she has said that climate change, there are no proofs of it. She has said that Hitler has done a great job, but unfortunately he wanted to expand.
She was kidding. I cannot.
No. She was straight serious in some. You can Google it. She was like, because they asked her, well, you know that Hitler said Germany great again when Trump was in power, and she was like, yeah, his only mistake was that he kind of went over his borders.
I was just saying that his political thing, if he kept to building autobahns and improving airports, it would have been enough. Or what is that?
No, she didn't say it exactly
Jesus,
in this.
Okay, that's bad.
But until then, it was fine because she was taking her takes on the topics that Daily Wire was behind too. But then she started accusing Israel, and the founder of Daily Wire is also a Jewish person.
He's like a super.
No, it's not Shapiro.
Super Jew.
Shapiro is just the forerunner or something that everybody.
The main face. Okay, yeah.
But there is another guy. So.
Candace, we need to let you go now. We need to let you go, Candace, because you're not Jew enough.
I don't know how both of these characters are popular. I don't know. I think that the way that he communicates news, it's unpleasant for me personally, because it's this super fast, super blah, 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 blah.
He used to be very good.
No.
I think he used to have some cool arguments. Yeah.
Yes, it's like that, like I would say that he had good arguments if I knew him, and I know that he was like really believing in those arguments or something. I don't know nowadays who takes a position because it's profitable or
what is a show, what is a position.
Yeah. What is a real position? Because I told you, like in my opinion, in order to be successful in the media, you have to be populist. You have to say what the people want to know. So in this case, in this exact podcast, it would be much better if me and you are on one extreme position.
Yeah.
And we go whether Palestine, fuck off, we're full blast Israel, or we're full blast Palestine. And then half of the audience hate us, but half of the audience subscribes and loves us, and we're super.
Economically, it would be good.
But it's stupid.
So reward good attitude.
The reward, I don't think we don't say, we shouldn't say this or we should say that. We say whatever we think. I think in this case that none of both sides is right.
No, I'm right.
Huh?
I'm right, obviously.
Yeah.
And you're wrong, obviously.
I'm right. I think that both sides have their...
How hilarious would it be if in 10 minutes we broke the bottles and we're like, fuck you!
I'm not that into the topic, to be honest. It's not my battle for life. That's also a problem, that it's a lot of people that...
it bugs me, yeah. It would be nice if they stopped killing people down there.
Yes, but I don't understand it,
I feel powerless to it also. There's nothing we can do about it.
If I was an Israeli guy, and on October 7, some motherfucker lands...
And kills your mom.
And kills my mom, my sister, my brother.
You go fooling. I get it.
I'm like, bro, where is the first... And they're all trained soldiers. Like the whole population of Israel, it's trained.
Everybody does the
women, men, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
There were videos of people coming back again to go back to the fact that they're very strong community. People flying back from abroad, from all over the world to Israel. There was the bodyguard, I think, of Taylor Swift. It's some former special agent, blah, blah, blah. He goes like, sorry, Taylor, I gotta go back and fuck them up.
I gotta go, honey. Be right back. But it's kind of unnecessary. They don't need to. But they choose to.
I don't understand. Like, I mean, they don't. We are not there, you know. You don't know what is the experience. You don't know what is the experience of, you know, you leave and at some point there is a alarm and then you have to hide because there are rockets. Yes, you have the Iron Dome, but that costs a bunch of money. Not sometimes they overload it, so some missiles go through. So it's on the other side.
Killed 0 so far with rockets. Maybe not 0,
no,
but
there have been
maybe handful.
There was
maximum.
one. They managed sometimes.
But this is. I'm gonna say something good for Israel because it's. I've been shitting on them all the time. I need to say something good. I don't like also the argument like, well, Israel is protected by the Iron Dome, so they're not losing any people. So what are they complaining? It's like, yeah, having rockets thrown at you, that's not fun, eh? Yeah, you may have this system that's protecting you, but just because you have the protection system and they don't, that's not an argument. Like, they are throwing rockets because they want to fucking kill you as well. So I understand that point of view. I want to share with you a theory that I've seen in more than one news outlet, also independent news outlets. You might think this is cookie cutter. You might think this is tinfoil. But Netanyahu, he's the president of Israel, super conservative, right-wing guy.
Yep.
Fine. Ugi, the guy right before the attack was in deep trouble because he was getting investigated for corruption. He was going through some major demonstrations because they had a huge collision between what is the judiciary power and the executive power from the government. So the guy was really walking on thin ice. This war is helping him.
Yeah.
And to him, the longer the war goes, the better. Because he's sort of like Mr. Security, I'm going to protect you guys because I'm a hard ass.
Yes. This is a good...
The theory is that it helps him, not that he started this attack, but it helps him that there's no peace agreement for now. Because it helps him to continue the war. He cannot continue forever, obviously. But he can extend it. He can create these concepts like eliminating Hamas, which in my opinion is an abstract concept. The dude kind of needs it. He also can get blamed in the sense that he pulled a lot of security forces from the Gaza area to control the mess going on in the West Bank. The mess going on in the West Bank, I think Israel has a lot to blame there because of the settlements. And that's why a lot of military personnel were not there in that area. This does not mean that Hamas, they're good guys. Just because they didn't stop them on the border, that doesn't mean anything. But there's like, yeah, the guy really, really fucked up and he should be in fucking jail. I think.
The irony is that both need each other, you know. Hamas need him to be Hamas and he needs Hamas to be him. And this is a situation where there is like the extremism win and all the people in between lose. The other situation was that actually Iran, when they fired all that rockets and drones to show that they can do it, but they didn't do any damage whatsoever. Their missiles, that was for their internal propaganda. Everybody were like, oh my God, Iran is attacking. So the media was focused on Iran. And maybe in a few days, Israel could completely bomb the shit out of Palestine without any media attention because they were focusing on this Iran tension attack whatsoever. Again, I don't like Netanyahu, but I don't like Hamas at all either.
Nobody likes Hamas.
No, okay, there are people in the protesters that I think they're idiot. I think that the most idiotic part of the protest is attacking the cooperations with universities, attacking the Jewish students, the Jewish professors, because you help Netanyahu with that position, because he can now say, see, there are anti-Semitic feelings in the whole world. we gotta keep it together and fuck up the shit out of everybody.
I'm just not sure how big is the scale of that, of what you're saying, of how many Jewish students are being harassed and everything, because any protest, any demonstrations, protests and demonstrations, they're messy. And in messy scenarios, shit happens.
But
I think it's probably a lesser percent.
I don't know. We have
it's easy to put the camera on that point of conflict and say, look at these fuckers.
I think in the world we're living, we have these sort of tribes that are now like have a pattern, like anti-vaxxer, pro-Russia, pro-Hamas, vaccinated, pro-Ukraine, against Hamas. You know, the vaccinated sometimes, you know, the extreme far and extreme left, sometimes they join forces on these topics because the far left are super pacifists, so maybe they're against against supporting Ukraine, against supporting Israel. I don't know, but I don't think that you can do a super strong protest by doing other kind of activities and sending other kind of messages. It would be much stronger if your message is something like, guys, they did that literally to you and you're now doing it to someone else. Like, it would be much more resonating to Israel to say, guys, they literally fuck you up and now you're doing the same shit to another population.
A song from Scape.
Huh?
Like a song from Scape, a Spanish group. I think it's known in Italy. Okay.
Never heard them.
Scape? No? Damn, doesn't matter. Let me put on 1 second my tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
Let me, 1 second. When I go Alex Jones, I'm going to do this. The globalist. The globalist. Making the frogs gay. So, who wins from the Ukraine-Russia mess? Who wins from the Israel-Palestine? Who wins from all of this? I will tell you.
America, fuck yeah.
The military-industrial complex. All this aid, all these millions of aid, of help to Ukraine, to Israel, this is money for Lockheed Martin, Rockwell, because all this money goes into producing more bombs, more missiles, more systems. I have to say it. I have the feeling like some people are benefiting of all this, and there's a small push of, anything that happens that gives us an excuse to put more money in the pockets of weapons manufacturing, it's going to create jobs, it's going to improve our economy, it's going to be win-win for us. That's my tinfoil hat moment. I think there's some of that there going on.
Short term, yes. Long term, no. Because it's like an awakening moment for both Israel and Europe. Because they're like, wait a second, we're completely dependent on these people on the other side of the ocean. Now maybe we have an agreement and they take the right decisions for us, but on the long term, even the support package for Ukraine from the US came after so many months that now maybe it's too late. And Europe is starting to say, maybe we can invest all this money into our industries that can develop same shit. So we're going to do the European tank, we're going to do the European fighter jet, we're going to do the European industrial military complex. And now we're going to go back. We're going to go mega, make Europe great again.
I can't deny it's kind of fun, the idea of having the European F-22, but can't we invest on other stuff?
Yeah, but
what you do? On weapons to kill each other. This is the hippie me talking now.
Yes, but that's the genie. When you release the genie out of the bottle, you cannot bring it back in unless you. This is the super controversy about it, is that you need weapons to defend yourself, but once you put a lot of weapons in the system, you gotta use them, and that's a really problematic situation. I think that this tinfoil hat theories work very well, resonate very well, because it looks like a perfect pattern. My opinion is that there is a tipping point that happens without anyone really being aware, and then shit hits the fan. Like, for example, in my opinion, February 7th was the situation in Israel. October 7th, sorry. I think that it was like 9/11. There was some glitch in the system of the intelligence in Israel, and the shit happened. And then all the rest is history.
Yeah, I'm not saying people knew October 7th was coming and they let it happen. It could be, it could not be. I will never say for sure. But the fact that conflict and war helps the US, because let's face it, Germans, they make cars and house appliances. Japan too. The US, what do they build? Weapons. They build weapon systems. That's one of their main industries.
And Boeings, which are weapons
yes.
of self-destruction.
I mean, Boeing makes some killing machines like the 737. This is super unfair, what we're saying now. But Boeing makes a lot of fighter jets too.
I know.
It's not like they don't only make 787s.
America does everything, actually. They do everything. They do cars. They do everything. They could be probably the only nation in the world that can be completely autonomous.
Self-sustaining. I think so too.
They want it.
But I don't know what chunk of their GDP is weapons, but it's a big chunk.
But it's also they say they pay this for themselves. Because if you see the military of the US, it's like equivalent of the next 10 militaries put together. So yes, and also the budget they're spending, it's like already a budget that was there. It's not that they're adding new money.
I don't know.
No,
do they put, because the Ukraine and the Israel, they lumped it together in one block? Because it was a shit show, because the Democrats wanted to support the Ukraine, but not the Republicans. But the Republicans wanted to support Israel, and they were sort of jumping. The Democrats, some were yes, some were no. So they did this weird trick. I don't get why. Then they put it together, and it's like, if you vote no, you're voting no for both. If you vote yes, you're voting yes for both. And in the end, it went through. I think it was not very democratic, because
I know how it happened.
Yeah.
The one wanted to support the other side, the other wanted to support the other side. But then their bosses from Lockheed Martin and all the other companies called both of them, said, listen, motherfuckers, we're paying all your campaigns, we're paying all of you, so you better get your shit together.
That's my point. That's my point, exactly.
I don't know. Like, it's... Yeah. I mean, the problem is that we're very close to one of the conflicts. The other one, it's a little bit further away, but still not too far away. This is the American advantage, that they're their own sort of island almost.
Yeah.
And they don't give a shit. And it's not that you can surprise them.
For the American population, the whole Israel-Palestine, it has no effect on their daily lives at all.
Yeah.
Nothing.
A part of the campuses.
Apart
That's
from the
the
campuses.
big...
But I mean, yeah, it's kind of easy lately to shit on students being a bit silly. And students are a bit silly. Sometimes, like we mentioned, Queers for Palestine, Trans for Iran.
But they are also, wait a second, I didn't say this.
They're doing, let them protest, come on. It's what they do. It's what students do. And I think they're right to protest for some sort of peace. It's not...
I have to be honest, the right person in me, when they are too long, too annoying... When the police enters in, I'm like,
finally.
Let me
say this, Iran. You need to accept trans for Iran. If these are your supporters, you need to accept them. You're going to have trans for Iran.
Imagine some super violent trans person. That would be the scariest of attacks you can receive.
And the Iranian government, he's one of ours. Yeah, we like him.
Or... there were also some people like were chanting death to America, which were clearly from some super far radicalized, while living in America, radicalized Muslim community. So I think the biggest threat for America is within America.
I think so too.
The division.
I think the empire will die from the inside. Not now, not in 10, not in 20, not in 30 years. But who knows, in 200 years, I think from the inside it will. But every empire has a beginning and an end.
If they stop expanding the empire, which are slowly starting to do, that's when the empires start collapsing. Really? Because they're stopping to let people to move to the US while they need people, because there is a high inflation, not because of anything, but because there is a lack of people taking the jobs that are being created. And they should study Roman Empire history.
I'm sure they do.
To figure this shit out. And we have to go. It's probably one of the next podcasts we're gonna do. We have to discuss. We're gonna go watch Civil War.
Yes, let's watch Civil War and then discuss it here.
I watched the trailer. It's fucking awesome. With the F-22 Raptors flying around,
really
fighting each other.
I just saw the poster with some dudes on the Statue of Liberty with the 50 caliber rifles. And
you didn't see the trailer?
No.
I think basically the movie is like reporters who are traveling around the country reporting the Civil War. And the Civil War, I don't know which are the fractions, if it's the same as the first edition or different division of the states. Maybe blue versus red, I don't know. But it's spectacular, like the scenery, the CGI.
We'll see it and comment it. I want to close the Israel-Palestine thing with, we started with historical background, then we focused on where we are, and then we went to what comes. We're going to go to what comes next. So I see a very dark future here. I would love to end in a positive note, but I don't think this thing goes to a good place. One thing that might help. In the US, there's a law called the Leahy Law that says that they cannot send weapons if there is proof that whoever they're sending the weapons to is committing war crimes and doing evil stuff. They're not going to say it, Israel is committing war crimes. But parallel to this, the ICC, the International Criminal Court in Den Haag in Europe, they are investigating to charge Israel with committing war crimes. If they end up in a yes, which I'm not sure if they will, then the US could not stop all the weapons sending, because they will not, but maybe reduce it under this Leahy Law Act.
America is not part of that fucking court.
They don't care, yeah.
Them and Russia, they're not part of that court, so they're like... And also lately in the UN, I think there was one sort of discussion also, and in the end they were saying, no proof of genocide.
It's when they want to, because with Russia, the ICC, they said they're guilty of war crimes, and the US was very like, see, the ICC is saying they're guilty of war crimes, these fucking Russians. So when it was Russia, the US was, yeah, we love you, ICC. Now...
they'll be like, wrong. Wrong.
Exactly.
Not true.
Exactly.
It's fake. It's a hoax.
So let me throw you an easy question. Very, very easy.
Yeah, go.
Yes or no question, pretty much. Will there be a two-state solution?
No, but in practice, yes. No, but yeah, like, I think, my opinion is it's going to stay the same way.
I think so too.
And just going to stay exactly the same it has been until now, because they have reduced Palestine to the minimum. Meanwhile, what they going to get? Another couple of square kilometers, but they cannot do more. And we know that even if they try to kill them all, whatever, they can't, because it's impossible. No. And people find systems to survive. They go down in the tunnels, and now you have the guerrilla system, and you just can't. Hitler didn't manage to do it even in the territories he was completely possessing, because people hide, also there will be, for sure, Israeli soldier that won't shoot at some kid when they find it in front of themselves. It's impossible. I think it's gonna stay the same way. I think it's super sad that they use people in Palestine to create this tension and to use it for political advantages from each side, for international influence, because Iran is heavily involved, Lebanon is heavily involved, Iran is heavily involved in Lebanon. I think the only person who is profiting from this, as you said, is Netanyahu, because he managed to stay prime minister for a little longer. How much longer? You don't know.
I think if they helped them, the Israelis helped the Palestinians rebuild, it will not fix things, but it will be a first step. And for example, In the Second World War, Germany was completely rubbled, completely destroyed. But then the Allies, they helped the Germans rebuild. And that was a great measure, and why in Germany they're very pro-American. They could be very anti-American because they bombed the shit out of Germany. But they helped them rebuild.
Well, they kind of deserved it.
They might have had it coming.
And they might have been re-educated for the next 70 years. And now they're like, oh my God, we were so bad. We were...
Yes, but the helping rebuild is a first step, because if they just let them suffer in their rubble, then the Germans would be even angrier. Can you imagine even angrier? And that's a first step, that if Israel started with that move, it would show them to be the better man, and it would maybe put things in a right direction. I don't know. I'm being kind of naive. I know. Right?
The best solution, actually, if you think about it, in an ideal world, would be one state where they have political parties, you know. Like, for example, in Bulgaria, we have a political party that represents the Turkish community in the country. And this political country doesn't have the majority of the votes, but it's always like, you know, the tilting point. Mm-hmm. Like, if you have 10%, let's say, or 15 or whatever, sometimes you are a coalition force in the parliament. So let's say the far right or not far right, but the right or the left in the country, in Israel, will take the majority of the votes. But then, if they want to govern, they are forced to do a coalition. And they can do whether a coalition with each other, where there will be a balanced point of view, or if they don't want to do a coalition with each other, they will need to find a coalition with your party, which it's Palestine.
That would be cool, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think ideally a two-state, I'm more into that they're each their own country, and they try very, very, very hard not to kill each other. And if anybody gets out of line, the international community smacks whoever got out of line.
Nah,
that would be for me.
The international community is like, whatever, we don't give a shit. Like, we don't want to spend money on this. And I think the problem with the two-state solution is that one state is divided literally from the other. You know, like the West Bank has no access to sea. Gaza has access to sea, but no access to
ports and airports, and
to the airports, to ports, but also to the other part of the country without crossing Israel. So, I mean, the mess has been done too far away in the past when the Brits decided that this is a good idea to give it to Israel. Yeah, and in this way, I would have said, okay, Palestine, you go to the left, Israel to the right, you have two different things, and now... And also the Muslim countries unleashed the genie with the first attacks and stuff. And when you attack something that it's somebody that it's been just going through genocide, they might be a little bit sensitive.
They're testing. They're a bit testing.
A little bit like, okay, let's destroy them.
They're going too far. You know, it's a small bits of news, but it's horrible. You know, like the Israelis, they killed two of their soldiers, two of their guys. And it was so... like sad and stupid at the same time. So these guys had been kidnapped by Hamas. With the bombing and the chaos and everything, the two dudes escape. Amazing. They escape, they run towards the IDF, the Israeli defense. And so they run into them. They think, wait, let's take out our shirts, because maybe they think we're suicide bombers or vests or something. So they take off their shirts and they go running to the Israeli army. The Israeli army sees two guys, military age. What do? Open fire. They fucking shot them, killed them.
They were hostages, actually.
Yeah.
And this is the recent event.
It happened a few months ago, not right now.
Yeah. But from the newest hostages.
No. It's not like a few months ago this happened. But the Israelis, they killed two dudes from their own people, because they are really like, they see any man on military age. Oh, Hamas, shoot.
But actually,
and we know about this because they're Israeli. If not, we wouldn't even know.
The family of the hostages are pissed off.
They want a deal. Yeah.
They're pissed off because they know that this is not at all about getting back the hostages. Also, they killed the humanitarian workers a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So this is clear. I think the best way to conclude this podcast in the most, how do you say?
Neutral way?
No, down toward is to say, which team are you?
Yes, take a stance, asshole.
Which team are you? Team Israel or Team Palestine?
Or maybe you want both sides to lose, which can be understandable. I don't know. I hope it gets fixed. And it's not going to get fixed, I know. But I hope things at least cool down.
Yeah, I don't have a team really either. But I think the initial reaction of Israel was understanding. The prolonged action of Israel, it's not anymore understandable, because I'm like, okay, guys, you got it out of your system. I can understand the first reaction is like to bomb the shit out of these people because of what they did. But now you're going a little overboard and it's not right.
Take a chill pill.
Take a chill pill and find... I don't think they're looking for a solution. This is how it looks like. It looks like this is a very good moment to unleash all their power, and they're hoping Iran makes something more. They were hoping for it, because then they know if this shit happens, America is full blast backing them up, and so
but
I think if this happens, we're starting World War III, and then we're gonna do a podcast from the front lines.
I hope World War III doesn't happen because of these prigs, but I don't know. Anyway,
that's it. Comment in below the section, in the comment section, which team are you for? If you have a team.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to the comments.
If we messed up the historical element, put a correction in there. We're happy to be corrected on that front.
Yeah.
Not on the modern day opinion. That you're wrong in that. So doesn't matter.
And one very important thing to mention is that we have in the description our social media, which is becoming the companion of the podcast. So all the stuff that Luis has mentioned, we're going to do a nice, slicky post on Instagram, Twitter, blah, 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 where we have all the information, the links. So if you want to find the sources which we have for this podcast, follow us on social media and we can chat there and shit like that. So that's it.
Here.
Cheers. Bye.